I'll talk about two different approaches to push-ups. One you're familiar with, one you are not. Your traditional push-up is how we load your shoulder, your chest. So we're going to take someone's shoulder, someone's chest, and do traditional push-ups. Obviously a traditional push-up, we start with the arms locked, we go down, touch chest to floor, press up, your preferred depth, whatever. A traditional push-up, I go up and down, up and down. We'll cue, keep your elbows in. There's a certain position that we want to see people move through. The limitation to a traditional push-up, where I am moving in the same line of tissue, is that I'm always loading the same line of tissue. I have a shoulder that can go through this range of motion. And when I do traditional push-ups, I load this range of motion. So if I load a shoulder or a chest muscle with traditional push-ups, and that's the only variation of push-up that I give it, I'm going to load a single line of tissue. For me to load the entire zone of available tissue, I would have to find a way to take my shoulder through the entirety of its range of motion. So what I want to do is find a way to load more zones of tissue in the context of a push-up. If all I do is that perfect push-up form, I will load the exact same line of tissue over and over and over again. The problem is, a single line of tissue cannot adapt forever. If it could, then everyone who had been doing push-ups for 20 years would be able to bust out a set of 1,000 push-ups at this point. So what do we do when we have exhausted a line of tissue's ability to contribute to a movement pattern? The only way to improve that movement pattern is to expand the zones of tissue that we are loading through it. This means that I have to give the pattern some variability. Enter our shoulder chest 2. This would be our internal strength model push-up. And now, I will move through different zones of tissue. You notice I'm shifting my chest forward, I'm shifting my chest to the side, I'm shifting my chest back, and then I'm shifting my chest to the other side. So what I'm doing is making small circles, relatively speaking, with my shoulder. When I add that circular range of motion with my shoulder, I am now expanding the zones of tissue that I am loading. When I have exhausted my ability to support myself with my pecs in a shortened position, triceps in a shortened position, I will then move to another zone to demand all of those tissues through those available zones at a different length. So now I should have an axis here moving out of the board. So I have now turned a purely linear movement into a movement that is able to load maximum zones of tissue available in my shoulder and chest. When I have exhausted my ability, explored every possible zone to failure, I would lower again. Now my pecs are stretched even more. And from here, I load, I search, I try to find every corner of pec tissue I can, because I don't want to leave any zone of tissue on the table. These lines, I'm going to fill out the whole thing. I'm going to come forward. If you give me an athlete who's doing shoulder and chest 1 exercise versus an athlete who is doing shoulder and chest 2 exercise, guarantee you, my athlete who's doing shoulder 2 chest exercise, all other variables the same of course, will have the superior shoulder joint and the superior chest strength, at least in the context of a push-up.